I should have seen the signs that night at Romano's Pine, but love has this way of making you blind to the red flags waving right in your face. Ryan and I had been together for 2 years, and I thought we were solid. Sure, we had our ups and downs like any couple, but I genuinely believed we were building something real together. That Tuesday started like any other day. Ryan texted me around noon, saying his work friends wanted to grab dinner and he'd love for me to join. It wasn't unusual. I'd met his colleagues before at various happy hours and office parties. Derek from accounting, Marcus from sales, and a few others whose names I could never quite remember. They seemed nice enough. Always polite when we crossed paths. I spent extra time getting ready that evening. Put on the navy dress Ryan always said brought out my eyes. Did my hair the way he liked it. Looking back, I realize how much of myself I'd been molding to fit his preferences. But at the time, it just felt like love, wanting to look good for your partner, right? The restaurant was upscale, the kind of place with cloth napkins and a wine list thicker than a phone book. Ryan was already there when I arrived, sitting at a large round table with 5 of his coworkers. He barely looked up when I approached, just gestured vaguely at the empty chair beside him while continuing his conversation about some big account they'd supposedly just landed. The energy felt off from the moment I sat down. Ryan, who usually at least pretended to include me in conversations, was acting like I was invisible. When the waiter asked for my drink order, Ryan cut in before I could speak. "She'll have water," he said, then turned back to Derek to continue discussing their golf plans for the weekend. I tried to engage with the woman across from me, Sarah, I think her name was, but she kept giving me these strange, almost pitying looks, like she knew something I didn't. The whole table had this weird tension, like everyone was in on some inside joke except me. The appetizers came and went. I barely touched the bruschetta, my appetite diminishing with each passing minute of Ryan's cold shoulder treatment. He was performing for his colleagues, telling stories I'd never heard, using business jargon he never used at home, laughing too loud at jokes that weren't that funny. Then Marcus made some comment about the new intern in their department, how she was way out of everyone's league. Ryan laughed, this harsh sound I'd never heard from him before, and said, "Speaking of leagues, that reminds me of something I need to do." He stood up, right there, in the middle of dinner, with his hand on the back of his chair like he was about to make a toast. My heart started racing, but not in a good way. There was something in his eyes, this cold, calculated look that made my blood run cold. "Haley," he said, and the entire table went silent. "This isn't working anymore." I felt the words hit me like physical blows. "What?" My voice came out as barely a whisper. "You heard me. We're done." He said it so casually, like he was canceling a subscription service. I need to be with someone who's more on my level. Career-wise, ambition-wise, appearance-wise, you're a sweet girl, but let's be honest, you're not exactly the kind of woman a guy like me ends up with long-term. The room started spinning. I could hear blood rushing in my ears, drowning out the soft jazz music and the clinking of silverware from other tables. Sarah gasped. Derek muttered something that sounded like Jesus. Ryan. But Ryan wasn't done. "I mean, look at you," he continued, gesturing at me like I was an exhibit. "Community college degree, working retail, living in that cramped apartment with a roommate at 28. I'm heading places, Haley. I need someone who can keep up, someone who won't embarrass me at company events, someone who understands what it means to have real ambition." The humiliation was suffocating. Every word he spoke felt like another weight pressing down on my chest, making it harder to breathe. The other diners at nearby tables were starting to stare. A woman at the next table had her hand over her mouth in shock. "Ryan, stop," Sarah said quietly. "This isn't the place." "It's the perfect place," Ryan interrupted, still standing, still performing. "Better to do it clean, in public, so there's no messy emotional scene." He looked down at me then, and I'll never forget the expression on his face, this mixture of disgust and pity that made me feel about 2 inches tall. "You should be grateful, honestly. Most guys would have just ghosted you or cheated. I'm giving you closure." Grateful. He wanted me to be grateful for this public execution of our relationship, of my dignity, of everything I thought we'd built together. "Oh, and one more thing," he added, pulling on his jacket. "I've got an early meeting tomorrow, so I need to head out. You've got this, right?" He gestured at the table, where our half-eaten meals sat alongside empty wine bottles and appetizer plates. "Consider it a parting gift, one last dinner on me. Except, well, not on me." He laughed at his own joke. Derek stood up too, looking uncomfortable. "Ryan, come on man. You can't just—" "I can and I am," Ryan said, already walking away from the table. "You all enjoy the rest of your meals. Haley's got it covered. She's good at taking care of other people's messes. It's really her strongest quality." And then he was gone, just like that. 2 years of my life walked out of Romano's without a backward glance, leaving me sitting at a table full of his colleagues who couldn't even look me in the eye. The silence that followed Ryan's exit was deafening. I sat there, frozen, my hands trembling in my lap, trying to process what had just happened. The waiter approached cautiously, clearly having witnessed at least part of the scene. Can I get anyone anything else?" he asked hesitantly. Sarah was the first to speak. "Just the check, please." Then she turned to me, her voice gentle but urgent. "Haley, you don't have to pay for this. We can all split." "No," I heard myself say, though my voice sounded like it was coming from very far away. He said, I've got it. Pride. Stupid, stubborn pride. Even in my complete humiliation, I couldn't bear to look like I needed their charity on top of everything else. Marcus cleared his throat. "Haley, seriously, that's insane. This bill is going to be—" I said I've got it. The words came out sharper than I intended. One by one, they left, each departure accompanied by awkward mumblings about being sorry, about Ryan being out of line, about hoping I was okay. Sarah squeezed my shoulder before she left and whispered, "He's been different lately. This isn't your fault." When the check came, I stared at the number until it blurred. $347.23. $347.23 for a dinner I'd barely eaten, for wine I hadn't drunk, for the privilege of being publicly humiliated by the man I'd thought I'd marry someday. I paid with my credit card, the one I'd been so careful with, saving for emergencies. Well, I suppose this qualified as an emergency of sorts. The waiter gave me the kindest look as he processed the payment. And that small gesture of humanity nearly broke me completely. I made it to my car before the tears came. Ugly, body-shaking sobs that fogged up my windows and made my carefully applied mascara run in black rivers down my cheeks. 2 years. 2 years of morning coffees and inside jokes and planning vacations and meeting each other's families. Gone in less than 10 minutes. I didn't go home that night. I couldn't face my roommate Emma's questions or sympathy. Instead, I drove to the 24-hour diner on Route 9 and sat in a corner booth with a cup of coffee that grew cold while I stared at my phone. No text from Ryan, no calls, nothing. I scrolled through our photos, hundreds of them. Us at the beach last summer, his arms around me as we watched the sunset. The surprise birthday party I'd thrown for him 6 months ago, where he'd told everyone I was the best thing that ever happened to him. Our trip to wine country, where he'd said he could see us doing this when we were old and gray. Lies. All of it had been lies. But then something strange happened. As I sat there in that diner, surrounded by truckers and night shift workers grabbing early breakfasts, my humiliation started transforming into something else. Anger. Pure, clarifying anger. I started thinking about things that hadn't added up. Comments Ryan had made about work that didn't quite match. The way he'd always insisted on paying with cash when we went out, saying he was managing his credit better. How he'd never invited me to his apartment in the 6 months since he'd supposedly moved to that luxury building downtown. The vague answers when I asked about his promotion, his big accounts, his work trips. I pulled out my laptop. I always kept it in my car for my online classes. Yes, I was finishing my degree, just not at the pace Ryan apparently required. And I started searching. Ryan Matthews, account executive at Pinnacle Marketing Solutions. Except there was no Ryan Matthews listed on Pinnacle's company directory. I tried LinkedIn. His profile was there, impressive and polished, but when I clicked on Pinnacle Marketing Solutions, something was off. The company page had only 12 followers, no employee listings. The website linked to a generic template that looked like it had been thrown together in an afternoon. My heart was racing now, but for an entirely different reason. I kept digging. The luxury apartment building he claimed to live in, I called their leasing office, pretending to be trying to reach a resident. No Ryan Matthews had ever lived there. The sun was coming up by the time I got home. Emma was already awake, making coffee in our tiny kitchen. She took one look at my face and immediately went into best friend crisis mode. "What happened? Are you okay? Is it Ryan?" I told her everything. The dinner, the humiliation, the bill, and then the discoveries I'd made at the diner. Emma's expression shifted from sympathy to outrage to something that looked almost like excitement. That lying piece of she caught herself. "Okay, we need more information. My cousin Jake works in IT. He showed me some tricks for finding stuff online." We spent the entire morning investigating Ryan Matthews, and what we found was staggering. His actual job, customer service representative at a call center 30 miles away. Not an account executive, not managing big clients, just answering phones for $15 an hour. The BMW he drove? Leased under his mother's name. The expensive watches and clothes? All knockoffs, good ones, but knockoffs nonetheless. But the biggest shock came when Emma found his Facebook. Not the polished one he'd shown me, but an old account he'd apparently forgotten about. And there, in photos from just 3 months ago, was Ryan, with another woman, at what was clearly labeled as his 6-month anniversary dinner. He'd been dating someone else for the first 6 months of our relationship. "Haley," Emma said slowly, looking at something on her screen. "His birthday is next weekend, right?" "Yeah, the 15th. Why?" She turned the laptop toward me. There was an event page, Ryan's 30th birthday bash, private dinner party. The location? His parents' house. The same parents who supposedly lived in Florida, but were apparently very much local. The guest list was visible, and it included his entire family, his actual co-workers from the call center, and that woman from the photos, listed as attending even though her relationship status now said single. "You should go," Emma said. "Are you insane? After what he did to me?" "No, listen. He publicly humiliated you based on a complete fiction about who he is. Don't you think everyone in his life deserves to know the truth about him? Don't you deserve to face him with the truth?" I spent the next week preparing, not for revenge, exactly, but for truth. I gathered everything, screenshots of his fake LinkedIn, proof of his actual job, the receipts from that dinner at Romano's, is in Clairteen Flane. Even a recording Sarah had sent me. Turns out she'd started recording when Ryan stood up, sensing something bad was about to happen. The night of his birthday, I dressed carefully. Not the way Ryan liked, but the way I liked. In the red dress I'd bought but never worn because he said it was too much. I did my makeup the way I wanted, wore my hair down instead of up. I looked in the mirror and saw myself for the first time in months. The party was exactly what you'd expect from someone living a double life. His parents' house was modest but trying to look grander. Fake marble columns at the entrance, oversized furniture that didn't quite fit the rooms. About 20 people were there, including his parents, his sister, what looked like a grandmother, and various people I didn't recognize but assumed were his real co-workers. Ryan's face when he saw me was priceless. The color drained from his skin so fast I thought he might faint. He rushed over, grabbing my arm. "What are you doing here?" he hissed. "You invited me, remember?" I said sweetly, loud enough for others to hear. "2 weeks ago, you said you wanted me to meet your family properly." His mother approached, all smiles. "You must be Haley. Ryan's told us so much about you." "He has?" I asked, genuinely surprised. "Oh yes, how you work in fashion retail, how you're so supportive of his career. He said you've been together 2 years?" Ryan was practically vibrating with panic beside me. "Mom, actually. 2 wonderful years," I confirmed. "Though I have to say, Mrs. Matthews, I'm surprised you're not in Florida. Ryan told me you'd moved there last year." The confusion on his mother's face was almost comical. "Florida? We've never even been to Florida." "Ryan, what?" But Ryan was already trying to steer me away. "Haley, we need to talk. Outside. Now." "No," I said, planting my feet. "I think we should talk right here. After all, you believe in doing things in public, right? No messy emotional scenes." His father had joined us now, along with his sister and several others. The room was starting to quiet, sensing drama. "So, Mr. Matthews," I said conversationally, "Ryan tells me you must be so proud of his promotion at Pinnacle Marketing. Account executive is such an impressive title." His father frowned. "Pinnacle Marketing? Ryan works at Teleconnect. And what promotion?" The look on Ryan's face was pure panic now. "Dad, I can explain." "Oh, this is awkward," I said, pulling out my phone. "Because according to LinkedIn, you're an account executive at Pinnacle Marketing Solutions, managing big accounts, closing major deals. But funny thing, when I called Pinnacle, they'd never heard of you." His sister grabbed my phone, staring at the screen. "Ryan, what is this? You told us you were doing customer service work while you looked for something better." "I was. I am. It's complicated." "Is it though?" I pulled up the recording Sarah had sent me, the one from Romano's Heliceps, because you seemed pretty clear about your success when you were explaining why I wasn't good enough for you. I played it. The entire room listened to Ryan degrading me, dismissing my education, my job, my apartment. They heard him talk about his supposed success, his upward trajectory, how he needed someone on his level. They heard him stick me with the bill and leave. His grandmother, a tiny woman who'd been silent until now, snorted. $300? You left this poor girl with a $300 bill after dumping her like that? "Robert," she said to Ryan's father, "is this how you raised your son?" Ryan's father's face was red. "Ryan Matthews, you explain yourself right now." But Ryan was backing toward the door. She's twisting things. You don't understand. She's bitter because I broke up with her. She's trying to ruin my birthday." "With the truth?" I asked. "Everything I've shown them is verifiable, Ryan. Unlike your entire fake life." That's when Ryan completely lost it. The mask he'd worn for so long finally cracked, and what was underneath was ugly. "You stupid." He caught himself before the curse, but barely. "You had no right to come here. No right to air this in front of my family. You want to know the truth? Fine. The truth is, yeah, I made some stuff up. So what? Everyone does it. Everyone inflates their life on social media. Everyone pretends to be more successful than they are. At least I was trying to be better, to be more. What were you doing? Just accepting your mediocre life, your dead-end job, your pathetic apartment. I gave you 2 years of my life, and you never once pushed yourself to be better. You were content being ordinary." "Ordinary?" I laughed, and it felt good. "Ryan, I'm in school finishing my degree, something you'd know if you'd ever actually listened when I talk. I'm working retail, yes, but I'm also doing freelance web design on the side, building my portfolio. I'm saving money instead of pretending to have it. I'm building something real while you're building a house of cards." His mother had started crying. His father looked disgusted. His sister was showing people something on her phone, probably the fake LinkedIn profile. "And you know what the really sad part is?" I continued. "I loved you. The real you. The guy who worked at a call center and was trying to figure things out. I would have supported you through anything real, but you were so busy pretending to be someone else that you couldn't see that." Ryan's face contorted with rage. "A girl like you should be grateful I even—" The slap came from his grandmother. This tiny elderly woman reached up and slapped her grandson across the face with surprising force. "Don't you dare," she said quietly. "Don't you dare speak to any woman that way. I don't care if she's the Queen of England or works at McDonald's, you show respect." Ryan stood there, hand on his cheek, looking around the room at faces full of disappointment, disgust, and in some cases, barely suppressed laughter. One of his coworkers, a guy I recognized from picking Ryan up from work once, actually said, "Dude, we all knew you were full of it, but this is next level." Without another word, Ryan stormed out of his own birthday party. The door slammed so hard that a decorative plate fell off the wall and shattered. His mother apologized to me about 15 times before I left. His father offered to reimburse me for the dinner. His grandmother hugged me and whispered, You're better off without him, dear. My grandson is an idiot, but maybe this will teach him something. I declined the money but accepted the apologies. As I was leaving, his sister caught up with me in the driveway. I found more, she said, showing me her phone. He's been doing this for years. Fake profiles, fake jobs, fake apartments. There are at least 3 other women he's dated with the same lies. I'm sending them all messages tonight. I sat in my car for a moment before driving away, feeling something I hadn't expected. Peace. The humiliation from that night at Romano's was gone, replaced by something else. Not satisfaction from revenge, but closure from truth. Ryan texted me 37 times that night, called 13 times. The messages ranged from rage to self-pity to threats to apologies. I screenshot them all and then blocked him. The next morning, I woke up to a call from Sarah. Haley, I wanted you to know. Derek reported what happened at Romano's to HR. Turns out Ryan doesn't even work for the same company as us. He was Derek's roommate's friend who'd been tagging along to our work events, pretending to be a colleague. We're filing a complaint with the restaurant about him dining and dashing, and Derek's offering to be a witness if you want to take legal action. I didn't take legal action. I didn't need to. Ryan's carefully constructed fake world had collapsed entirely on its own. 3 months later, I ran into him at Target. He was buying socks, looking disheveled and years older. When he saw me, he dropped everything and practically ran out of the store. I stood there, holding my basket full of things for the new apartment I'd gotten. Yes, my own place, no roommate, paid for with my growing web design business, and realized something important. Ryan had been wrong about me being ordinary. There's nothing ordinary about being real, about building something genuine, about having the courage to be yourself in a world full of people pretending to be someone else. He'd called me mediocre, but he was the one who'd been so terrified of his own mediocrity that he'd built an entire fake life to hide from it. I'd faced mine, accepted it, and was working to genuinely improve it. That's not ordinary, that's extraordinary. And that $347 dinner, it was worth every penny for the lesson it taught me. Someone who truly loves you doesn't need you to be anything other than exactly who you are. The fake promotion, the fake apartment, the fake life. In the end, the only person Ryan had really fooled was himself.